Good evening, Book Talk, and welcome to my live session. I'm going to be inviting author Kate Sparks to come and chat with me once she has also gone live. Kate Sparks has a phenomenal amount of books under her belt. She writes paranormal and also under the alias of Tanith Frost. So I cannot wait to dig into her journey and figure out her pen name, why she has more than one, and all of the things. Here she is. I'm going to invite her now. And that wasn't so hard. There we go. We figured it out.
Do you have antlers on?
I have my Christmas crown.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. I figured for all of my December interviews, I need to have a Christmas crown. And I went hunting.
I'll go with my regular crown then.
Well, regular crowns are quite beautiful as well. I love it. Yes, that really suits you as well. And I bought a Halloween crown. And I thought I need a Christmas crown. And this one, I mean, it's only just a headband, but it kind of appealed to me. I thought,
sorry,
it was whimsical and maybe a little bit of Puck from A Midsummer's Night Dream, and
it's perfect.
Yeah, thank you. There we go. So here we are, the interview with the wonderful Kate Sparks, who also writes under Tanith Frost and has a large number of books under her belt. Welcome. So for those of you watching or going to be watching who don't know Kate, can you tell us just a little bit about you and your books? Just a little snapshot of an introduction.
All right. I am Canadian. I have been writing my whole life. I didn't publish my first book until 2014. I write mostly young adult fantasy, but as Tanith Frost, I write urban fantasy.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know, I was having a really interesting conversation. My last interview was with Abby Noor. So she writes young adult paranormal, and we had a really great discussion about the difference between contemporary fantasy, urban fantasy, low fantasy, high fantasy. I think is quite self-explanatory, but I think it means something slightly different to everyone. So how would you describe the difference for you between your urban and your other things? What would you say?
Well, the primary difference between the genres for me is my high fantasy stuff is set in either another world for the entire book, or it starts in this world and most of the story takes place in another world. The fantasy is entirely in a different version of this world where vampires and werewolves and everything exists.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you become paranormal fantasy or urban fantasy, you know, they all start to kind of intermingle a little bit, and sometimes it's hard to kind of distinguish what you mean by that, and you know, but you know, who cares? It's fantasy.
We're all a happy family, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell Book Talk where you are right now, because I think you're the first person I've come across who lives in this location. Maybe, I don't know, have you met anyone else on Book Talk in your location?
There are a couple of other authors from Newfoundland.
Okay.
Yeah, Candace Osmond and J.J. King, I know we're both on here. They're Newfoundland authors. And awesome. John Dobbin is on here, but I'm not sure that he actually posts videos. I know he's on here and he's liking and commenting on Book Talk stuff, but whether he's actually posting anything. But yeah, there's a few of us.
Yeah. So what brought you to Newfoundland?
My husband is from here.
Okay.
So I sort of married into it. I was born in Ontario, so
yeah,
halfway across the country. But yeah, his family was from here. We met at school and he kind of brought me back with him.
Yeah, because when you told me about your time difference when we were sorting out our interview, I was kind of like, okay.
Yeah, it's a little
That's different. I'm either used to like Australia or East Coast, or you know, I was like, okay, yeah, it's great. I love it. It's fantastic, and it's easier for me because we're a bit closer in time. So that's fantastic. So tell me a bit about how you got onto Book Talk. How long have you been here, and how did you find it?
Well, I first discovered TikTok. We were still at our old house. So year and a half, I don't know. It was a while ago. And I was on here and I was just watching the videos. I had an account, but I wasn't posting anything. I wasn't brave enough to post. And then it was just, I guess, back at the beginning of the summer. And I came back and I started posting a couple things. And then I really discovered Book Talk and all these people talking about these wonderful books and this whole amazing community. And now it's taking up a dangerous amount of my time. And it's ruined my productivity. So
yeah.
So happy to be.
Yeah. But it's so much fun. It's okay.
It's too much fun, actually.
Who needs NaNoWriMo when you can just post TikTok videos, you know?
Who needs to actually write when you can make videos about writing?
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the things that really drew me to your post was your straight talking, this is what I think, this is who I am. And I've always appreciated that quality in somebody who just, you make no apology. You are who you are. And this is what I think about things. And I think, it's always made me smile when I watch your post. And I think, yeah.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad.
I've enjoyed that.
I'm actually somebody who makes a lot of apologies generally, so I'm glad that I come across as more confident on here.
Well, I don't think that you need to make apology. I think that everyone has opinion, and I think as long as you're measured and considerate as you are, that's what it's all about. So, but what drew you to kind of thinking? I mean, are you on other social media platforms, for instance?
I exist on them. I find I used to be on Facebook a lot more until they decided not to show my posts to people unless I paid them to show them to people. So I don't post. I have a really nice reader group on Facebook. People who have read my books and asked to join the group, and we have some great discussions and we share posts about reading and fantasy and that kind of stuff, and that's great. My page is not very. Instagram, I like it. Again, engagement is a challenge. But I like it better than Facebook. Twitter, absolutely not.
Yeah. It's funny how, it's funny the different, for me, Twitter was my home place. And I met most of my other author friends there. And the way that I exist on Twitter is in private message boards. I don't go onto big Twitter, as I call it, as little as possible.
Yeah,
I just hang out in message boards, with my author friends. But Instagram is an enigma. I think it's pretty, but I haven't figured out how to make it work. Facebook, I have my street team on Facebook now, and it's great to have a place that you can organize that. But TikTok, I feel like TikTok is my home now. I feel like I can see people, I can get to know people. I just think that you feel like you're friends with people, especially, and after you do an interview or something like this, I mean, it's like you feel so much closer to people just seeing them and talking to them. And I TikTok is my new home, so I've moved in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, same, because it's like, I don't know, TikTok, you get to it shows you, it introduces you to all of these amazing people, where it feels like Facebook, you have to kind of bring people in. You have to be like page and find me on Facebook, and they have to seek you out. But here it's just like, look at all these amazing authors, look at all these amazing books, all the great readers. Yeah,
that's true.
So I like it here.
I like the way you said that. So did you join TikTok with the aim to promote your books, or
no?
How did you?
I joined TikTok with the aim of laughing at ridiculous videos that made my brain chemicals happy. And then the author stuff just kind of, I wanted to contribute something, so here I am.
Absolutely. And then you start. It's funny how it all evolves. I mean, obviously I've known about TikTok, and I have my eldest is 14, and he's been on it for a couple of years, and I always thought it was just this stupid thing about stupid teenagers doing stupid things. And then I kind of thought, well, there's got to be book people on there somewhere. And that's when I started investigating. And then I found Book Talk, and I've never looked back. So and it's exploding. I mean, I even went into I mean, I live in a small town outside of London, and I went into my local Waterstones and I said, you know, I'm a local author. Do you want to stock my books? Blah, 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 blah. And that they are now getting on board with the idea of stocking local authors. And I said, well, what about your book talk table? I said, you know, Barnes and Nobles are doing it. Lots of Waterstones are doing it. And he's like, yeah, I think we need to get on that. I said, well, I'm all over book talk. So I was trying to make myself really, really important, you know. And then he told me about there's an indie bookshop has opened up in my hometown. My hometown does not have an indie bookshop within a 50-mile radius. It is all Waterstones. So I galloped over there. I was so excited. It's this teeniest, tiniest little thing, and it's got a cafe inside it. I was so excited, and I went over to the guy who could be maybe 12, who's running the book side of things, and I said, take my books. He said, great, bring them in. I said, wow, get on book talk. He said, okay. So woohoo,
good, that takes guts. I hope you're very proud of yourself for talking to people and getting your out there, because it's not easy.
I've been published for 2.5 years, and it's taken me that long.
Yeah, well, I mean, my first book came out in 2014. I still won't talk to bookstore people, so yeah, that's good. That's brave of you.
Well, I didn't even have a drink either. I just I just went for it, which is very unlike me. So yeah,
that's good.
Why not? So tell me, how did you first get into writing?
Well, I spent a lot of years starting and never finishing anything, because I would write first chapters and be unsatisfied with them, and then I would go back to the beginning and start it over until I got sick of the story and I just trashed the whole thing. I didn't finish a book until I did NaNoWriMo in 2010.
Okay.
That was first. I didn't finish the draft, but I got my 50,000 words. Great. And then I lost most of it in a software accident. But by then I had the momentum where I was willing to go back and rewrite it and improve it as I went. And then that was it. That was all I needed. I needed that momentum just to get through the first half of the book.
Yeah.
And then once I got to the end, I realized
that NaNoWriMo helps a lot of people kind of just get that first 50,000 words, doesn't it? Just for me, it's too much like pressure, but you know,
because it was never.
I was going to say I sympathize with losing a book. I lost half a book. Yeah. And it has been my nemesis of a book ever since. And it's one that I'm working on with my agent at the moment. And I cannot count the amount of revisions that I have done on this book. And I'm just like, I want this book to be gone.
Oh, that's not a good feeling.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I do love the book, and I love all my books, but it's not my favorite book. So it's always been a labor of love. I mean, I love it, but it's always going to be the thorn in my side. But you know, who knows? We keep doing these things. So I get that. That's tough. So NaNoWriMo took you off to the stratosphere, and you never looked back.
Pretty much. I mean, it took me a long time to get that book finished. And I hired a really good developmental editor, and I learned so much through that. Yeah. And then it still took more time. I mean, it was June 2014 before Bound came out, and it did really well, thank goodness, because I probably would have given up on writing if it was, you know, I have trouble putting a lot of work into things if I'm not getting something back for it.
Back from it, yeah.
But having thousands of people waiting for the second book pushed me to finish the second book and pushed me to finish the third book. And that's how I sort of got into the habit of writing.
So how do you think you made it do well? I mean, aside from having a quality book, you know, how did you get people to discover your book?
I think, having the quality behind it was key. And I've never regretted doing the big developmental edits for that one. Absolutely. Because I did have so much to learn, and I still have so much to learn with every single book that I do it with. But in terms of getting people to give it a try, I hate to say it, but part of it is just that it was 2014. Yeah. Kindle Unlimited wasn't even a thing then. Yeah. So wide, and I wasn't at the disadvantage that wide authors are now on Amazon. And I had a blog, and I had people following me and waiting to buy the book when it came out. And it started getting good reviews, and Amazon's algorithms picked it up, and it climbed in the rankings of the smaller, the smaller subgenres, and then the bigger genres, and finally it was at the top. So
that's fantastic.
So it was just I don't know, it feels like it was a combination of the book, it was the cover, it was the description, it was luck, it was good timing. Like, it felt like people at that time, I don't know if people are still saying this, but they said, don't release a book in June. Never release a book in June. That was the advice back then. And I did, and maybe nobody else was releasing them then. So that's how it got that initial visibility. But I
always hear, for here it's October, because all the celebrities release books in October. So and then it's the whole Christmas market, that leads up to the Christmas market, because they're out for a couple of months and people buy them as Christmas presents, and so I mean, I don't think that's a good time to release a book. I don't
think there is either. No, because there's always going to be a reason not to do it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, as you say, having you getting in that much earlier, I mean, I think about new authors launching and aspiring, and I just think it is so much more competitive now.
It is. But what's funny is, when I released this book in 2014, I was so sad that I hadn't been able to release it in 2010, because everybody was saying the ebook market is dead. There's too much competition now in 2014. You're never going to get what you could have got 5 years ago. And that was true then. It's true now. Now is always going to be the best time to do it, right?
That's true. That's true. That's true. And that makes me in the way about when I feel about audiobooks, because I kind of think, when you're doing Amazon ads, for instance, it's a tough, it's competition to get your ads noticed, but audiobooks are really just starting to boom, and there's less competition when you run ads against them. And if you can get an audiobook going, then you'll get more notice. But that there's a lot of cost behind that. Obviously there are ways to do that, but it's tricky. It's really tricky. So how many books are there in the Bound series?
Bound is a trilogy. So there are 3 books there, and then there are 2 prequels that I give away to my newsletter subscribers.
Right.
One of them might be available for sale. I'm not even sure. I'm not good at keeping track of sales and numbers and stuff, so I don't even know what books I have for sale. So there are 3 books in that one. And then I have there's a standalone thing that I did as part of a multi-author series.
Nice.
And then the Tanith Frost stuff, the Immortal Soulless series, is 7 books. And then just last month, I released the first book in a new series under my name.
Under your name. So why? Tell me why you have 2 names. What was your decision on that?
It was a hard decision. That was. I still go back and forth on what I think it was the best thing. It was just, I was moving into writing vampires. I never wanted to write vampires. I didn't know that my audience wanted vampires. And I never wanted people to say, I really liked Kate Sparks's early stuff, and then she started writing the vampires with the gore and the blood and sex.
I get that.
And also, I had received messages from like 11-year-old readers who had read the Bound trilogy. I didn't want them following me into this dark underworld. So I decided to keep it separate, because I didn't know whether people were going to follow me there. Anyway, I don't keep it a secret. If somebody likes my stuff as Kate Sparks, then they're going to be able to find me as Tanith if they want to. But this way people always know what to expect.
Did you maintain 2 social media presences or 2, identities to promote these different?
They're not both active.
Okay.
Which is, I should be better about that, but I really, at this point, I really don't do any promotion for any of it. Which is bad, I know.
But it all depends on what your needs are. I mean, if you don't, like you say, if you had success from Amazon picking up on early on, and you don't need to do that, then that's fantastic. I mean,
but it doesn't last.
Well, yeah, it ebbs, ebbs and flows.
So I know I need to learn how to do ads, and I need to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, Tanith, she exists on social media. She has a Facebook page. She has an Instagram profile. Not on here. I'm just me on here. I'm me, and I'm her on here. So all of that exists. She has a newsletter separate from mine. But again, it's not active because she's not publishing anything, and I don't like to bother people with newsletters if I don't have anything to actually talk about. But like Resurrection, the first book in that series, is going to be on sale for the ebook. It's going to be 99 cents. I think it's dropping next week. So then I'll put out a newsletter for that, and I'll post something on her social media for that, and it won't get much reach, but you know, she's there.
Yeah. And so how did you come up with the name Tenants Frost, which I think is a really cool name? I think it's a real kick-ass fantasy name. I love it. I do.
There's no really good story behind it. That was me picking a whole bunch of first names that I liked, picking a whole bunch of last names that I liked.
Yeah.
And, sorry, I just gotta let my cat out of the room.
Aw.
There she goes.
Off she goes.
There she goes. So then I made combinations, and I Googled them, and there were some that I couldn't use because like the top hit that would come up on Google was like a child who had passed away in a car accident or something. I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to take that name.
Yeah.
And then with the ones that I had left, I ran them past my reader group, and I said, hey, what do you like? And that was it. Yeah,
nice. I like it a lot. It immediately appealed to me. I think it's a good name. It's a good name. If you could just pick a name.
It's a fun thing to be able to choose your own name.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think your own identity, and you know, if you went into witness protection, who would you be? You know, make up your whole identity. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You mentioned a little bit about having a developmental edit on Bound. Tell me a little bit about your editing process. Do you do that for all your books now, or has your process changed through your books? How do you approach your editing?
It depends on the books. I do a lot of self-editing first. In terms of professional editing, I worked with one editor for the Bound trilogy through the whole series, which was great because he knew the story from beginning to end, and he actually did, developmental edits and line edits in a single pass, which is great for me because it saves me money, because I'm pretty clean on the line edits anyway, so I don't really need to go back for another pass after that.
Sure.
And then I worked with the same editor for Vines and Vices, which is the one that just came out. But then Into Allurian, which was the one I did for the multi-author series.
Yeah.
I had to write and publish this one in 4 months because I was invited late to the project.
Oh, that's
so I didn't
hard.
do the full mental edit. I just got line edits done on that one, and it was fine. And then for Tanith stuff, it was the same thing. It was just sort of line copy edits that level.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to. I mean, I've always been productive, and I can write a first draft in 4 to 6 weeks. But for me, the editing process takes a lot longer because, you know, even if I have feedback, I need rest periods and time to reflect. And you know, and my agent's always telling me slow down, and I'm like, come on, we've got to get this out there. And she's like, just read this book over here and read this book and then go back and revise. And I'm like, but I don't work that way.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly fighting against that. But you do need to, I think that editing process is a maturation process that takes time sometimes. But then I see these people that, you know, put out a book every couple of months and they've got a 15 book series. And I just kind of think, you know, wow.
And that's actually the vampire stuff, the Immortal Soulless series. That was supposed to be me trying to do that and going, okay, this is a genre where people want rapid release. Maybe they don't care much about the developmental edits and the story structure and blah, 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 blah. But I couldn't do it because my stories are better if I take my time. You know, even if I can draft them quickly, like you say, like it needs round after round of revisions, and there's always I can tweak the character arc and make it that much stronger.
Absolutely.
I could bring the theme out more if I did this and this, and
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. So I ended up, it was still a faster release series than my high fantasy stuff. But yeah, no, rapid release just isn't for me. I need time with my book if I want to.
Yeah. I mean, as productive and as quickly as I can write, I don't think I could do that either. I just think that I like to go away and get the feedback and then revise, or read a craft book and then revise. And I'm always learning. Every editor and every person I work with levels up my writing, you know. Exactly. And you learn so much more. So actually there is something to be said about taking your time, and letting your knowledge seep through into what, you know, your new drafts. So you know, this is why J.R.R. Tolkien wrote such an epic, because he took 12 years to write Lord of the Rings, you know. So
and that's to say that some people can't write very good books quickly, but I can't. So for me, it came to the point where I had to decide, okay, am I doing this as a business, or am I doing this because I want to put out high quality books that I'm proud of? Because I couldn't, I couldn't rapid release.
I don't think one precludes the other either, because, you know, like you say, if I take J.R.R. Tolkien, who only wrote a certain amount of books, you know, the quality will always supersede quantity, I think.
I hope so. Yeah, it doesn't always seem like it in the current market. Like, it seems like the people who pump out the most books, not to make it sound crude, but the people who can rapid release and put out the most books are the ones who are making six figures. And I just have to try not to be jealous of that, because it's not what I'm doing.
I don't even think it's about pumping out the most books. I think it's about they've figured out how to make the ads work.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to be good at the marketing side of it and good at the production of it.
It's not just you're not just a writer anymore. It's
No, unfortunately. So, I mean, you can write the best books, but if nobody knows about them, then
no. And I mean, the talent on Book Talk and the books that I have read since I've been on here by indie authors, I mean, it just shows that, you know, how much quality is out there that isn't traditionally published, that's being missed, you know, totally being missed. And it's so it's sad in some ways, but it's also triumphant in other ways, because we are starting to get our voices out there, and Book Talk is really helping that happen. So so are all of your books self-published?
Yes.
Did you ever pursue the traditional route?
I considered it before now. I think I was in the process of looking up agents and wanting to start the querying process and stuff. And then self-publishing wasn't even on my radar at that point. Like, I mean, this would have been back 2012 when I was really thinking about it that way. And I thought self-publishing was just, you pay a company $10,000 and you have copies of your book.
Fantasy press.
Exactly. And that was all that I knew. It was like, oh, that's what people do when they can't get a real publisher. Right. But then I started listening to podcasts where people were talking about self-publishing. And there was one where it was sort of a roundtable podcast. And every week they would have on a traditionally published author, a self-published author, an editor who ended up being my editor. And then they would have a guest on, and they would talk about all of the different aspects of it. And I started going, hang on a second. Like, I can actually do this, and I can make my story what I want it to be without having to, you know, not that I don't.
What's the name of the podcast? That's really.
They're not doing it anymore.
They're not anymore. That sounds fascinating.
I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, but it was how it lasted.
Yeah. Wow. And do you know, one of my favorite things about being on Book Talk is watching new authors come through and have absolutely no intention of querying an agent or a publisher, and I'm going to self-publish. And I just, it's the new generation that is coming through with, why would I do that? Why would I lose my control? Not even going to think about that. And it's so empowering. And I kind of think it will shake up the whole industry, because Book Talk is becoming such a powerhouse in the way books, you know, what books are popular.
you.
that I are you with me? Yeah. BookTok is becoming such a powerhouse in the way that books are dealt with, that these people that are saying, these authors that are saying, why would I give somebody a cut of my money when I can do this myself? It's changing everything, and I'm so proud of us indie authors for being here and doing that. Actually,
Yeah.
I am.
And it's such a supportive community too. Like, it's like somebody can just walk in and say, hey, I want to self-publish, and they will have 100 authors going, hey, can I help you? Can I get some advice?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it's funny that way. I mean, obviously there are snooty authors out there, but I'm part of a community called Write Mentor, where we mentor aspiring authors, and we do a lot. There are paid programs, but we do a lot for free, and it's for anywhere from picture books to young adults. And and the guy, my friend who started the company, he's always been about, this is what I wanted when I was starting out, and I feel the same way. I never had the opportunity to apply to a mentor or to get a free critique or any of those things. So and I love so I've been part of this program for 5 years, and I've mentored 6-7 authors. All but one of them have agents or publishing deals now.
Wonderful.
And to have that, I know, but to have that, just to be able to help somebody, it means the world to me. They ask me questions about the industry, but that's a whole other thing. We touched a little bit on your editing process, so we're going to go back to your plotting process. What do you do to plot? Are you a plotter, a pantser? What do you do to approach a new book?
I'm a plotter. I'm a big outliner.
Yeah.
I start out with, I'm going to grab my books.
Oh, I like it. This is like a show and tell time, people. Watch me drink until Kate comes back.
It's all going to be backwards here.
That's
this
fine.
book, The Anatomy of Story by John Truby.
Okay.
This is my favorite for story development. It takes you through everything from the concept to the actual plot of your book, but the plot is the last thing that you look at. You're looking at your themes and your best characters and everything before that. It's very dense. I don't always use all of it, but it's really good because I'm one of these people who the plot is the last thing that I figure out. I'll have an idea for the concept of the story, or I'll have a character whispering in my ear and going, tell my story. And I'm like, okay, what's the story? And they go, I have no idea. So that's what
that feels opposite to me, because for me, I don't always know what my themes are until I've written the book. And I think it's about something, and it ends up being different. Whereas I will often have my plot and my character's main want and need, and my plot, but my themes not necessarily. It's so interesting. Yeah, fascinating.
Character arcs are something that, like, I will outline my entire story. Like, I'll use story engineering beats and save the cat beats, and I'll figure out, this is going to happen here, and this is going to happen here, and this is going to happen here. But then in revisions, I have to go back and go, okay, but actually, why did that happen? Like, what did this character actually want that led her to do that? Or that's part of why I have so many layers of revisions, because it's not just about what happens in the story and what was in the outline. It's why did it happen, and what happened because of that, and how does it all connect?
Yes, it's not always and why your character is the character to be in that situation, for that growth. So when you're plotting this, are you like a, post-it note person, a spreadsheet person, how do you actually visualize all of this?
All of the above.
Okay.
I make a lot of notes on paper. All of my outlining is by hand at first. If I have the wall space, like I did in my old office, I will do I had my wall broken up into 4 chunks for the different acts of the story, divided in the middle at the midpoint. And I would put my index cards up, stick them up with washi tape and make all my notes on them. And I would have, the 4 different sections of the story and the turning points and all of the different beats from the different books that I use would be noted up on the wall. It was great. I don't have that now. We moved. But then it goes into, once I have the scenes, then it goes into Scrivener in different
Scrivener.
in different file for each chapter, and then a different text thing for each scene, and I'll have my notes in there, and then I just kind of blow through the first draft as quickly as I can from there, and then I figure out everything that I did wrong.
I had a little glance at Scrivener, and it wasn't really for me. And I heard so many horror stories about people losing work, actually, that but I was chatting to Abby Knorr on one of the other interviews, and she introduced me to this software called Plotter, where we spent most of the interview with her showing me on her laptop what this software did. It's amazing. So it has some like templates, so like the hero's journey or a romance beat, or so it will put all the plot points out for you, and then you just have to fill them in, or you can create your own. And it's a very visual software. So for me, I normally work in a spreadsheet, and I kind of do that all on a spreadsheet, but I thought actually this really appeals to me, because then you can add scene notes and chapter notes and all that kind of stuff. So I am desperate to start a new novel just so that I can use this software. But I have so much editing to do of about 3 different books that it's going to be a long time until I can do this.
But that could be your motivation. When you finish the edits, then your reward is planning something.
But I was chatting to my writing group, and I was saying there are 4 books that are screaming at me at the moment, and I don't know which one to go for next. And I'm thinking, can I just plot all of them? Yeah. Why not? Just plot them all out. Just go through the process with all of them, see what happens. Because I've also been assigned, it's not here at the moment. My agent assigned me a book called The 27 Principles of something or other, which is dense but accessible, and it's making me think a lot. And then I just bought also, I've used Save the Cat a lot, but I've watched all the YouTube tutorials, but I wanted the book. And then I also bought Creating Character Arcs by K.M. Wieland.
Nice.
Yeah, I wanted more character work. My aim is that I'm going to read all of these before I attempt to write another book, but we'll see. Maybe. I get too excited. Yeah. I get too excited.
Yeah. I don't even have Save the Cat Writes a Novel. I have the original, because Save the Cat Writes a Novel didn't exist when I got this, and it works.
Well, there you go.
It works.
It works the same way. I believe it works the same way. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same kind of thing. So there we go. So, do you have a favorite book that you've written? Do you have, or a character, or both?
Vines and Vices is my favorite right now.
Oh, right.
I can't work on a book if it's not my new favorite.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm looking backwards, because there are things that I love about every single one of the books and every single one of the characters, and I'm always learning things about myself as I'm writing, so I owe a lot to every one of the books. But I always think, like, if the newest book isn't my favorite, and if it's not the best thing I've ever written, then what am I doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Because that's what's vying for your attention, so therefore that's why you're writing it,
Exactly.
I get that.
No, I can't write to market. I can't write something that I don't passionate about, that isn't the story that's screaming for me to write it. So Vines and Vices is my favorite. I don't know who my favorite character is. I have a lot of favorites for different reasons. I kind of did something different in this one, where I tend to write, what are they calling it now? Like grumpy sunshine romance, where one person is like the dark and dangerous one, and the other one is more like either innocent or just more pleasant or whatever. And this time, Jess, who's the heroine, she's the dark and dangerous one. She's a con artist. She's the one who's in trouble, and she meets a charming prince, and he's actually a very decent human, and he bakes things, and he helps with the dishes, and he struggles to make pie crusts, and is very different for me.
Oh, I love it.
Because my other male love interests have always been like sometimes literal monsters.
Yeah.
So that was really different for me. But he's still got an edge to him. He's an excellent pickpocket, and
we need to learn from each other, because my love interests are always like the do good, make the right decision, morally just kind of guy, you know. And I need to darken them up a bit, I think.
Like a Superman, Captain America.
Yeah. Like your real Chris Hemsworth kind of, you know.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
You know, it takes all kinds, right?
And I think it stems from me being at heart a true romantic, and although I would say I'm a feminist, I'm also not, because I want someone to take care of me. I want someone to sweep me off my feet. I want someone to say, I'm going to do all this for you. Do you know what I mean? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being Cinderella. So,
well, and I mean,
we're not allowed to say now, but I'm okay. I am actually okay with that.
But I mean, there's something to be said for a romantic interest who's actually a nice human being, and I think that's, for me, that just reflects a change in me as a person and what I want out of life. And it's, you know, I don't, much as I like reading about them, I wouldn't actually want to be with someone who was bossing me around and insulting me, and it was like a love-hate thing. I want somebody who's going to say, hey, you look tired, can I do the dishes? Like that's kind of
absolutely.
So that's where he came from.
I mean, this reminds me of a conversation I was having with my agent about one of my latest books, and in the book there's a romance subplot, and there's a bit of the main character, you know, and the guy are supposed to get together, but there's a little bit of a mishap, that there's this other person involved, and you know, and the feedback is like, well, you know, she doesn't have to have a boyfriend, she doesn't always have to work out, doesn't have, and I'm kind of thinking, but equally, I think there's so much pressure on teenagers to be feminist, and I don't need a man, and I can do this on my own, and I can be independent. But actually, it's okay to want to be taken care of, and it's okay to crave a romantic relationship, because I always felt that way, and there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. And so I was saying this to my agent, I said, you know what, it's okay not to have a boyfriend, but it's also okay to want to have a boyfriend. You know, that doesn't make you a weaker person. It's just you are a person that would like to have a boyfriend to share those things with, you know.
And that's why not every book and not every character is going to work for every reader, because we're all looking for those different things. Like I have in Bound, my first book, it's a dual point of view, and it's that grumpy sunshine thing, and the sunshine character she's a Hufflepuff. She is a nice person. She's been very sheltered her whole life. And people who, I mean, overwhelmingly, the book had very positive responses, but there are people, obviously, for any book, who aren't going to like it.
Yeah.
Because there are people who want, no, she has to be strong right from the beginning. She has to be kicking ass right out of the door. She can't have emotions. She can't have empathy. She has to be that kind of strong woman. And that's what they're looking for. And that's fine. Yeah. Not what I was writing.
No.
I'm an empathetic person. I am the kind of person who, if I got swept away by like a fairy prince on an adventure, I would have to learn as I went, and I wouldn't immediately be hard and capable. And there's room for all of those stories, right?
Yeah.
For all of those characters.
I absolutely agree with you. I'm actually surprised that you've written a Hufflepuff.
I am a Hufflepuff.
Are you? I am a Hufflepuff.
No
I
way.
am also a Hufflepuff.
I don't know.
I am.
Somewhere.
Yeah, I am. And I did not think that about you, actually. Isn't that funny?
I like a good Slytherin Hufflepuff romance is what I like.
Yes, actually, that's good. I like that, because it's unexpected, and it works though on so many levels.
It works really well.
Yeah, fantastically. Brilliant. Oh, so tell Book Talk, what are you reading right now?
I should have, oh my gosh, I'm reading, how many books am I reading right now? I've got, well, this is the one, this is what I was reading before we went live. It's The Long Walk, which is one of Stephen King's older books that he wrote as Richard. I love love Stephen King. I don't love every one of his books. Really don't love a lot of his older books, but he's just,
wait,
you know
you
how
don't love
sometimes you
his
find an
older
author
books?
and you,
See, I prefer his older stuff.
yeah,
His middle stuff, I can't get on board with. That's really interesting. But obviously, he had very different stages throughout his life. So one of my favorite books of all time, I think, is Salem's Lot. I think that was phenomenal.
I didn't finish Salem's Lot. I couldn't get through it. And it's funny. And it's the same thing with his, what do you call it? I'm looking at the series right now, his fantasy series.
The Stand.
Where it seems like,
the Dark Tower.
The Dark Tower. People either love that one or they hate it. I couldn't finish it. And I'm a fantasy author, but my favorite author, I couldn't read his fantasy books. And it's so funny because it's like he appeals to such a range of people, but we all love his books for different reasons.
Different things.
Like I love Under the Dome and 11/22/63 and the Mr. Mercedes and all. Like I adore all of those. But anyway, I got that one at a used bookstore. So that's one that I'm reading, and I'm kind of plowing through it. I'm also reading Ashes by Laura Lana Dunn, which is a book from a small local publisher, because I like to support local authors and local publishers, obviously. I'm also reading Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. That one's really slow going. Like, I understand the appeal of it, but it's just I'm the kind of reader these days who, if it's not really compelling me to come back and keep reading, I kind of put it down and forget about it.
I've actually never read a Neil Gaiman book.
Yeah.
And Terry Pratchett,
really good.
I've tried Terry Pratchett. He's not for me. My brother read him, and David Gemmell, and who was the other one? There was, I felt that they were too high. It put me off high fantasy, actually. And it wasn't until I read A.K. Mulford's High Mountain Court that I thought, oh, I can do high fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, it's different tone, different language, different everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I feel like there are more that I'm forgetting that I'm reading, but anyway,
so
that's
you
read them.
You read a lot of books at the same time.
I don't mean to. I just
explain. How does that happen?
I'm a mood reader. Reading is hard for me these days. I'm an extremely picky reader because I can't turn off editor brain. So if a book has a lot of errors, if it's not really grabbing me, if it's just if it doesn't have that something special that really makes me demands the Raven Boys. That's the other one that I'm reading right now.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, if it doesn't make me keep wanting to come back to it, then I'm going to pick up something else that might compel me more.
Yeah.
But then, usually, I mean, if it's really bad, if I know that I'm just not going to enjoy it, I'll DNF it. I will wish it well, because I would rather not finish than force myself to read it and end up absolutely hating it and resenting the author for the time that I spent on it. But in the case of
I
something
agree with you, and I think I used to struggle not to finish, to not finish a book, because I think once you got a third, halfway through, you had invested that time, and even if it was bad, you wanted to know how it outcomed, and because you'd invested that time, you thought, well, I need to commit to that ending. But I think in the last 3 or 4 years, I'm like, no, if I read the first chapter, 2 chapters, and it's not, who's got time? I've got so many books on my TBR pile. It's not. I can't do it. So
no, and I think I have made myself finish enough books where I got to the end and I went, wow, I really wish I hadn't taken the time to finish this book. That now I just let it go. And if I own it, then I can donate it to the library. I can donate it to Value Village. Somebody else can enjoy it.
I belong to 2 different book clubs, and I remember one of these book clubs, they always choose things like it's on the Man Booker, or it's not horror, it's not fantasy, it's not not the stuff that I want to read. So my husband said I said I was really struggling with this particular book, and my husband said to me, well, just read the first and the last page of every chapter. And I thought, That was the most genius idea I've ever had.
Yeah.
I didn't miss a thing.
Really?
No. And I think this is the thing about man booker books and adult introspective contemporary whiny things. Sorry, I'm getting it on a bit of a rant
No,
now.
that's fine.
I
feel the same way.
I totally did. Oh, it was a Maggie O'Farrell book. Did not miss a thing. Just read the first and the last page of every chapter and was totally did not I was fine in the discussion. Yeah, so there I go.
So that's the tip. Something about the content of the chapters, though, that you could just yeah.
It's true. So, have you got any advice for aspiring authors?
Be willing to write garbage. Don't publish garbage, but be willing to write it. That was my problem for so many. I don't want to say that I wasted years starting and not finishing things, but I was such a perfectionist that I thought if it's not perfect on the first try, then I'm just not a good writer and I shouldn't, it's not the right story and I shouldn't bother. And then once I started actually finishing things, I realized, oh, this is how you learn. Yeah. You're never going to magically become a better writer by waiting to become a better writer. You become a better writer by actually writing it, and even if it's absolute garbage, you're going to learn something from that. So that's my best.
It's amazing how many writers have said that same thing actually, and gone through that same process. And
I think it traps a lot, and we think that okay, well, I'll just wait and I'll try writing again when I'm better at it. But we're not going to get better at it if we're not doing it. Right? It does make me feel better. A lot of people say that though, because I kind of feel stupid sometimes for being that way, right?
But I think we all started in that space where we knew nothing, and we all learned differently. And I think when I first started writing, I think I wrote in a vacuum for 5 years, and I wasn't on social media. And it wasn't until I got onto Twitter and I met other authors that I realized that there were courses and there were books and there were things that I could learn to improve, because writing in a vacuum, I'm not going to improve anything until I'm reading other people's work and critiquing other people's work, and they're doing it for me. And, and that opened up a whole world for me. But everybody gets there, differently. So it's opening yourself to new opportunities, and absolutely. Right, we have come to the part of the interview. Some people call them the fun questions.
Oh, good.
Some people call them the evil questions.
Oh, even better.
I'll leave it up to you to decide. Okay. As a writer, what would you choose as your mascot or spirit animal?
Ooh. Well, I'm going to have to go with, I know it's obvious, but I'm going to have to go with a dragon. Because I have a lot of them in my office, so I think that's kind of been pre-chosen for me.
Yeah.
But I feel like my dragon would be hoarding books instead of gold.
Yeah. And I like that.
It would breathe fire so that it could light a fire under my butt when I'm slacking off.
I've just had this image of Smaug on top of books rather than gold, and I love it. It's and protecting the written words.
I think that probably a shy and awkward dragon, but one that means well and is going to keep me motivated to keep working. I don't know.
A fully nuanced personality we've got there. I love it. Oh, that's perfect. All right, if you could only eat one thing and drink one drink for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Okay, well, I'm going to pick tea for my drink. For eating, I don't know. Do I have to be practical? Do I have to think about nutrition?
No. You go for what? No, you go for what you enjoy.
I don't know. I get bored so easily. I'm trying to imagine being satisfied with one thing for the rest of my life. Mashed potatoes, I guess. I say I get bored easily. I get bored easily, and then I pick.
I mean, that's like a side dish. It's not. That's what I mean. That's a side dish. And
But maybe I would. Okay, well then, do I get to pick like a whole meal with it? Because I will also take
like
shake.
a roast dinner, you know.
Okay. Yeah, roast beef dinner would be great. If we can have the
Okay.
potatoes mashed with Yorkshire pudding
Yeah.
and gravy and mint sauce. Yeah.
Nice, like it. And I want to go back to your tea. What kind of tea? I mean, you know, there's so many teas in the world.
I'm happy with Tetley.
Tetley,
Just
I like a Tetley. I drink decaf
basic.
Tetley.
I love I really like the decaf. Like sometimes I think it tastes better than the regular.
I'm a decaf girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm a Tetley girl.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your favorite biscuit or cookie?
Ginger crinkles. If I can pick a homemade one instead of I make them at Christmas when I remember to make them. Yeah. And they're like, they taste a bit like gingerbread, but they're a little bit puffier and they kind of crinkle on you bake them, and they're rolled in sugar, and they're just they're very good.
Sounds nice. My son just made gingerbread at his cooking class at school, and they were nice and moist, not hard. You know how some gingerbread is hard. They were nice. Yeah.
Yeah, they get like a little crunchy on the outside, but they're soft in the middle. They're good. You dunk them in your tea, and it's very nice.
I like that.
I can send you.
Oh yeah, do. I love cookie recipes.
I have to find it. It's been a few years, but I'm sure I can find something online. Yeah.
You're going to be inspired to make it because you know we are in December now, so
yeah, I think me too.
Yeah. Favorite color?
Right now, I guess technically not a color, but gray. If I have to pick a color, I'll go with green.
Gray.
I just find it very soothing.
Okay, so sometimes I think there's context needed because, like, my kids will say, "What's your favorite color?" and I often go blue. And I like to wear blue, and I like to wear red. But you know, I like, you know, you like different things on different things. Like gray is actually my worst color to wear, but most of the walls in my house are gray.
Yes.
So it depends on the context. So give me some context.
Kind of like it for everything. I like wearing gray. I think it's, you know, it's a lot of different shades. You can have, you know, it's a nice neutral.
Yeah.
I do. Most of my walls are. One of my rooms is still pink since we moved into this house, which is interesting. But I'm going to be painting it gray. So.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it. It's not distracting. It's soothing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variety for whatever you want in it. But yeah, no, if you want a color, I'm going to go with green just because I like looking at it.
Green is what I had in mind for you because I feel like you would look good in a forest green.
Oh.
Yeah. But with grey, what I realised when we were choosing our paint colours that there are yellow undertones, there are blue undertones, there are pink undertones. You know, you got to figure out which undertone you want. But there we go. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any pets?
I have a lot of pets. I have 2 dogs.
Tell me you've got a Newfoundland. Please have a Newfoundland.
I don't have a Newfoundland dog. No, they're. Do you know how big their poops are?
I know. I mean, they are huge. I can imagine.
They're big dogs. I don't want to clean up after that. They drool too. But I love seeing them. Like if I see one in the park, I was like, you know, I have to go up and say hi because they're so beautiful. Yeah. But we have 2 dogs and 6 cats.
What?
We didn't mean to. Again, this was an accident. I didn't mean for that to happen. Because we had. Oh gosh, how did that happen? Okay, well the two dogs. The 2 dogs are easy to explain. My husband is the dog person, and the Chihuahua was a rescue that came from people that we knew in Ontario.
Oh, it's a Chihuahua. Oh,
and
that's hilarious.
The English setter is one who we adopted about a year and a half ago from the SPCA, and He's a challenge, but he's a very nice dog.
I love it. I love a setter. Yeah.
But the cats, we had 2 cats, which, you know, very normal.
Yeah.
And then I saw a post at the local SPCA 4 or 5 years ago, and they had this kitten, and I fell in love with him because he had these very unique. He's gone now. These very unique face markings, and he had black and white blotches on his face, like an ink blot test.
Yeah.
And I didn't think we were going to be able to adopt him because we already had the other cats. So I put him in a book. I put him in the first book of the Immortal Soulless series as this beat up older street cat, and I was like, well, at least I can have him that way.
Yeah.
And then we ended up actually adopting him. So that's how we had 3 cats. And then this past summer, our neighbor's cat had kittens, and they started coming over and playing in our backyard, and we fell in love with them. There were 7 kittens. Obviously, we didn't adopt 7 kittens.
No.
But there were 3 of them who had kind of moved into the gazebo in our backyard, and they would come up and sleep on our back deck, and they came to take them away to the SPCA, and we couldn't let them go.
No, that's incredible.
So yeah, 6 cats and 2 dogs.
So do all the cats get along?
Mostly. We have one who's kind of irritated by the kittens, and she gets a little snippy with them. Okay. Generally, the older 3 always kind of ignored each other. But the 3 kittens, I mean, they're siblings and they grew up together. So they're just constantly cuddling and play fighting and bathing each other. And it's adorable.
I mean, do you just get like this cuddle fest on your lap sometimes?
Yeah, it's very distracting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how
Let alone trying to write. And how do the dogs and the kittens interact?
Not very well yet, honestly.
Yeah.
We didn't know. We adopted the English setter, and his old owners said, no, he's fine with cats, and that was a lie. So we've spent the last 1.5 years trying to sort of get him used to the cats, and he's at the point now where he can be in the same room with them, but we can't leave them unsupervised. So
yeah,
it's a challenge.
That sounds like hard work. Yeah. Oh, but Animal Farm. Woohoo! Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Okay. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
I like the lack of hesitation.
Yeah. Well, okay. My husband he's very big into comic books, and that's why I've seen all of those movies.
Yeah.
Like I've seen all of the Marvel movies, and I think most of the newer DC movies. And he would have a harder time answering because he loves both. But I like the energy, I like the characters, and I like the stories that Marvel's telling right now a lot better than I like the DC ones. I don't know, the DC movies, and I am basing on the movies, not because I don't read most of the comics.
Yeah, same.
I don't know, they're dark and they're heavy and they're slow, and they're just I don't enjoy them. And if I'm watching a comic book movie, I'm just there to have a good time.
Yeah. Those are Marvel. My exact reasons. I love Marvel. The energy, the humor, the character. Yeah. I just think the whole universe. Yes. Whereas, you know, with DC, it is darker, it's grittier, it's slower, it's psychological. You've got to be in the right mood for it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a different kind of movie. It's just not usually what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I get that. Tick.
We're on the same page.
Yay. So there's 2 parts to this next question.
Okay.
You're going to take 3 books. To the first place is a desert island, and the second place is to give to an alien. So, which would you do for either?
Wow.
I know. This is the one I think I need to give in advance because it does require thought sometimes.
It's that thing where it's like, I know that there are a lot of books that I love, and right now I can't think of a single one of them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Okay, for a desert island, obviously I want to take books that I'm going to want to read over and over.
And again.
Right. I'm looking at a big book of fairy tales right now, and honestly, that's kind of appealing.
Yeah,
because that's what I'm doing right now. Like right now, I'm rewriting fairy tales, so obviously that's kind of food for my imagination. So if I'm on the desert island, I'm not just going to be reading. I'm going to be making my own stories, right?
Absolutely. So it's got all the retelling fodder, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So that would keep me interested for a while.
Yeah.
I would probably take East of Eden just because I've been meaning to reread that one. I've read it a few times and I really liked it in the past, and that's one that like you come back to it every few years and you're a different person.
Yeah. I understand that. Yeah.
Then I get 3 choices.
If you want them, you don't have to.
I want them. I'm trying to think, like, is there's no magical book that actually has all of the stories in it, so I can't do that.
Well, some people have cheated and gone with a series, which I will allow.
Oh, I have so many unfinished series on my shelf.
Yeah, but if they're unfinished.
No, I just mean, like, I haven't finished reading them.
Yeah.
The whole thing exists. I haven't finished. Like, you know, I've read the first 2 books in the Throne of Glass series, and I haven't read the rest. And that's a long series. That would keep me going.
But I think that's telling in itself, because if you're into a series, you'll whip through the whole thing, blah, blah, blah.
Yes. Yeah. Like, I read the first 2 as they were coming out, and then I kind of lost interest. And then the whole series is finished, and I don't want to reread the first 2, which also says something.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on. Yeah. No, I don't know what my third pick would be for that. And it's Forgiving to Aliens.
Yes, that's interesting.
Well, I'm not going to give them, like, any alien romances, because that's just going to insult them probably. And be like, what do you think of us? Why are you objectifying us and we haven't even met? I don't know. Honestly, like, off the top of my head, I can't think of a book that I feel like represents the best of humanity and how I would want aliens to see us. Because we deliberately put so much conflict into our stories because that's what's interesting to us. But I feel like aliens would just be like, ooh.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think one of my favorite answers to this so far, and I can't remember who it was, who said I would give them 3 books about aliens, about alien conflict, you know, which I think was a really interesting answer, because then they would see how we could interpret conflict and the idea of an alien visiting Earth. I thought that was quite clever, actually. It's tricky. That is tricky.
Have you answered that question for yourself?
I did get asked this question. So my initial response was to say the Bible. Now, I'm not actually religious, but I felt at the time I thought it was a good grounding on humanity. But actually, because, you know, religion is such a contentious subject, it's not necessarily a reflection on the truth of society either. So I kind of thought, actually, I should take that back. It's hard. I think definitely giving them 1 book about alien conflict would be so that they could understand that. For instance, in the moment I'm reading Hail Mary, which is by the author of The Martian, Andy Weir, and it's fantastic. I'm really enjoying it, and it is about alien contact, and it's 2 intelligent species trying to communicate and solve a problem together. So there's no angst, there's no, you know, and that, I think I would give them that book, actually. I think that would be a really good book. Yeah. To show collaboration between intergalactic species. But it is hard. It's a hard question.
It would be interesting to give them something like about world religions, so they could look at it and say, okay, well, these are the things that everyone seems to have in common, and that would tell them a lot about us, I think. But
maybe a scientific approach to world religion, something that balanced the 2 views, so that they could understand that different people believe different things, and some people believe in religion and some people didn't, and, you know,
and then they can pick out, like, okay, but these are the common threads that we find in so much of this.
Absolutely.
Maybe part of humanity.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that we have so many different religions, but they all have a common God in some way, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. It's tricky.
Yeah.
Right. Here is your last and final question. It's a goodie.
Okay.
Have you got any talents besides wearing your crown that would help you survive the Hunger Games?
No.
That's like, you know what? A quick, easy no is fine as well.
I can't even see anything if they knock my glasses off. I am definitely going to be the first to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. No question.
No question. I love it.
That was really easy.
Yeah. There was a Twitter bio I came across a while ago that said first to die in the zombie apocalypse, and it made me laugh so much. And I was just thinking, because it's so me.
Yeah. No, I've told you, I've said, if the zombie apocalypse happens, there's little hope for me. Take the kids, run. I will, you know, I'll keep
do my best.
Feasting on my flesh for a little while so you guys can get away. He didn't agree to it.
Yeah.
But I did say that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do. I mean, I am a big fan of The Walking Dead, and I do have a baseball bat I keep beside my bed. I could just lace it with a bit of barbed wire and see how it goes.
You know? Yeah, you'd be all set.
Call it Lucille, and I'm all good.
There you go.
Well, I think I've gotten into this discussion more than once, which is quite worrying. But I do feel I could swing a baseball bat more than I could stab somebody with a knife. Because there's penetration and there's not, you know.
Yeah, no, I think I'd be better with the knife.
Do you?
Well, at least because then you can take them down with one slash if you aim it right. I feel like a baseball bat, I wouldn't get the force to really knock them out right away.
Yeah. But for me, it's that penetration aspect that I just don't know if I could commit to that.
I mean, if it was life or death, I think I'd do it.
Well, yeah.
I'm not keen on the idea. I don't want to, but if you know.
What's that?
I'd like
to think I could, but who knows?
I'm willing to try.
Yeah. This is really fun part of the conversation, isn't it?
Like, I'm thinking about, like, when I'm playing video games, I like the games where I'm stabbing people. So, like, I'm choosing the stabbing weapons over the beating weapons. So.
Are you? So, what video games do you play?
Mostly Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
For some reason, again, I didn't mean to write vampires. I didn't mean to get into video games because my family got a PlayStation 4 a few years ago. And I was like, I'll get a game just so I'm not the only one who doesn't have a game under the Christmas tree. And I'm the only one who uses that thing. And I have played most Assassin's Creed games over and over. I also like Skyrim. Anything where I can sneak around and stab people and shoot them with arrows, basically. I don't know.
I've always been a gamer, but I'm not a fighty gamer. I don't know. When my brother and I, we grew up with a Nintendo, and then when I got together with my husband, we were like 20, and I got an Xbox for me. He was not interested, but I loved the snowboarding, the skateboarding, the surfing games, you know, all those kinds of games. And then I got rid of it eventually, but now I've got 3 kids and they've got so it's Mario Kart and it's Minecraft. I play Minecraft with kids. Yeah. We have sessions that go on all day with the 4 of us playing, and my husband's just like, oh, you lot, you're so boring, you know. I'm like, go play golf, you know. We're happy, we're playing Minecraft, we're in survival, we're killing zombies. It's so weird
because I look at it and I go, why is this fun? But it is. Like,
I love it. I love it.
Stop. I know, it's weird.
Yeah. No, I do love Minecraft. I think it's I have my own worlds that no one's allowed in, and I've spent hours on. So
good. Well, you don't want other people coming in and messing with your stuff.
No. And if I do allow the kids in, there's zoning. The beach houses are over there, and the townhouses over there, and the castles are on the hill. You have the zoning, you know?
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kate, I'm not going to keep you any longer, but it has been an absolute delight to talk to you and to get to know you more about you and your journey and your writing and your books. And I've learned a lot, and it's been so fun to chat.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, anytime. And anytime you want to come back, or if you've got a new release coming out and you want to get spotlighted, we'll do it. I'm always happy to do that. So
next one is
fantastic.
May.
Excellent. Let's get it. We'll get it scheduled in, and we'll do a little launch interview.
Yeah, we can talk about fairy tales, and it'll be fun.
Oh, I could be here all. Yeah, we'll need a longer segment for that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Good. Yeah. All right. Well, you go and enjoy the rest of your evening. And I will talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you soon. All right. Mwah.
That was Kate Sparks, everybody, who writes YA paranormal and also under the name Tanith Frost. Oh, so many books under her belt. Delightful author, gives lots of advice. And she's funny and she's a lovely human. So do check out her books, and I hope that you check out the rest of the interviews.